Hello friends, Kisan is here again and welcome you in this video tutorial. In past few video tutorials we have seen how to handle exception in a Spring MVC project. So initially we have seen how to write a basically exception handler method within the controller. After that second example we have seen how to write a global exception handling class. And in this video tutorial we are going to see how to configure a Spring bean in the Spring configuration file, which is basically responsible to handle different kind of exceptions. So instead of writing a Java code inside the Java handler class or generic handler exception class, will configure within the Spring web configuration file itself to handle any kind of exception arises due to the application on the runtime. So one of the interface is called HandlerExceptionResolver, and for generic exception, most of the times we serve a static pages for exception handling, right? So a Spring framework provides HandlerExceptionResolver interface that we can implement to create global exception handler. The reason behind this additional way to define global exception handler is that a Spring framework also provides default implementation classes that we can define in our Spring bean configuration file to get a Spring framework exception handling benefits. One of the class I know that is the SimpleMappingExceptionResolver, which implements interface HandlerExceptionResolver. So in this video tutorial I am going to show you how to handle exception using SimpleMappingExceptionResolver. So SimpleMappingExceptionResolver is the default implementation class. It allows us to configure exception mappings where we can specify which resource to use for a particular exception. We can also override it to create our own global exception handler with our application specific changes, such as logging of exception messages, etc. So here I have created a project for MVC exception handling, project 3. So this is just a replica of my previous video tutorial. This project is the just replica of my previous video tutorial. So I have copied all files from my previous project. So if you would have watched my previous video tutorial, then you will understand this video. Else I recommend you to go and watch my previous video tutorial, then come to watch this video. Now here let me show you this project. So in this project, let me run this project first of all, and let me show you the flow first of all. So here in previous video tutorial I have explained you how to simulate this exception. So what basically we are doing in controller class, when we run this project, then this registration page gets forwarded to the user, and user fill this form, and when user clicks on the register button, then request goes to the request handler method that is called login success, and form data gets binded to the student object. And if any kind of data binding exception occurs, then those errors get saved into the binding results, and just we are querying the binding results. If this comes with some data binding errors, then we are just telling user to stay on the register.jsp page itself, and there just we are displaying error which occurs for the data binding. And I can show you the JSP page over here. We can just displaying the data binding errors by specifying this tag. So it's a pretty straightforward. Now if I fill this form, or directly without filling this form, if I click on the register button, then if you go to the controller, here what I'm doing, here just I'm extracting the student name basically. If I do not fill this form and click on the register button, then name field comes with a null value, and if you call is empty on that, then there is chance to get the null pointer exception. So basically our controller will start scanning to find any exception handler method is present in this controller class or not. So we haven't written any exception handler class in the controller. So after that our MVC will try to scan any global exception handler class is present in our class path or not. So we have written global exception handling class in the class path, right? and this class we have annotated as @controller advice. So here is the request handler method. So you might write them more than one exception handler method. Here for simplicity I have written only one request handler method. So runtime null pointer exception is the subclass of runtime exception. So this request handler will handle all kind of exception which is type of runtime exception or its subclass type of exception. So this exception is matching from our exception which is arises over here, right? So null pointer exception is matching with the runtime exception, and because of that this request exception handler method gets executed, and runtime exception.jsp is getting forwarded to the client. And make sure that runtime exception.jsp is present in our views directory, so that we have already written, and this gets forwarded to the client. So let me show you. Here this page gets forwarded to the user. I click on the register button and this page is getting forwarded to the end user. So these things we have configured by writing a global exception handler method, right, in this package. So in this video tutorial I'm going to delete this class with package, and entry for this package I had given in this Spring configuration file. That entry I'm going to remove as well. So this entry I'm going to remove as well. And here instead of writing any request instead of writing any exception handling method, we are going to configure a bean itself which is provided by the Spring framework, and that bean class is called, so let's find the bean class. Bean class is called SimpleMappingExceptionResolver. So let's search for this class. So simple, I was talking about this class, simple exception simple mapping exception, sorry guys, mapping exception resolver. This is the class I was talking about. So, and you can see this class basically extends abstract handler exception resolver, and this is abstract class, and this class finally implements this class finally implements interface is called handler exception resolver. So basically either you can implement this interface directly, or you can directly configure this bean, right? So basically we are going to adopt the approach by configuring this resolver class in our configuration file itself for the exception handling. So let's copy this class with the qualified package name. So if you go to this class, and let's try to copy the qualified name of this class, bean class. So copy this qualified name, and let's configure this guy in the configuration file. And if you go to this bean class, this bean class has a couple of properties that we'll have to configure. So first property, you can see, sorry guys, this imports to be happen from a class which belongs to some other package. So we have imported from the package is called portlet. So basically this is designed for the portlet, but we are looking for the class which belongs to the web server handler. So that was the incorrect package, so sorry for that. So let's go to copy qualified name of this package, this class, and let's go to the configuration file here, and in this configuration file we have to configure this bean basically. So we were configuring this bean, so let's copy qualified package name. So now this package is correct. Now couple of property will have to auto wire. So if you go to this class, then you can see that there are some properties. First property is called exception mappings, and this is type of properties. So this property will have to auto wire, right? So we know that property, this bean has a this property has a type property, and property we can configure using props tag, and props is having a again prop, and key I'm gonna specify runtime exception with qualified package name. So Control Shift T, and if you type runtime exception, this belongs to the java.lang package. So here I'm going to copy qualified package of this exception class, and that I'm going to specify over here key, and value you need to specify JSP logical view name, and JSP logical view name which we have kept in the view directory, so that we have to copy, and that is called runtime itself. You don't need to specify basically extension, only you need to specify the logical view name, so that excludes the extension. And here one more property you can specify even. So if your exception matches with the runtime exception, then this page will be forwarded to the end user. Here you can define your own custom exception as well, right? You can create your own custom class exception, and that you can configure as well. Now if you go to this class, then this class is having one more property, default error view. If does not match any exception with runtime or subclasses, then I would like to say the Spring framework, hey Spring framework, you go and display this JSP page which I am telling you. So one of the more JSP page I have created, that is called generic view.jsp. So if any arises exception does not match with the runtime or its subclasses, then this page is gonna forward to the end user. That's the meaning of this. Now everything is done, everything is on place. Let's run this project now and see what output is coming. Now so let's run this project, close all files, and if you look into our controller implementation, then if without filling the form, if I try to submit this form, then here basically there is chance to get the null pointer exception, right? Because this will come as a null, and we are calling is empty on that. So run pointer exception will occur, and runtime.jsp is getting forwarded to the client. So that's why we are getting this page. Now let's make some changes in the controller class. So instead of a null pointer, let's say I would like to throw some checked exception like exception. So this exception does basically now we will have to throw it. Let's write a throw, and at this time in configuration file, when a Spring looks into the configuration file, then exception is not the subclass of exception, right? So that is a checked exception. So so our exception does not match with this exception. So in that case, default exception page will be forwarded to the client. So let us check out. So here control class is name is coming null, then we are throwing checked exception, that is called exception. And here is the page, and if I click over here, then you can see some generic exception error, and you can see this page is getting forwarded to the client. So I hope you enjoyed learning this video. If you have any queries or any questions, any doubts, then please do post the below to the video. I will try to answer those queries as soon as possible. So this code I am going to upload on the GitHub, and GitHub location I will specify on the video description itself. You can download from the GitHub and try to run on your local machine. If you get any problem, then please let me know. And thanks for watching this video.